using a credit card or a debit card is completely different, and it could totally change your finances. And most people don't really know how they work, which is the difference between the two, and so which is the best one. And not knowing that could lead you to this or this. And that's why you should have a clear and simple understanding of what they are and what you should use. And so here it is, an easy explanation of these two cards. Hi all, I'm Nico, and let's start with understanding how these two types of cards work. Firstly, let's start with this one, the credit card, which is actually the most common one and the one that you probably use. And let's imagine that you're at a coffee shop and you order for a cappuccino. Then you will have to pay for it, clearly. And to pay for it, you're using your credit card. And so what is actually happening in this situation? It is that you're borrowing money from the bank to pay for this cappuccino. And so you're not using your own money. And this means that you will not be immediately impacted by that. And this is actually an extremely important point, because this means that at the end of the month, you will have a bill to pay, which is the payback for the money you got lent to buy this cappuccino. And at this point, you will have three options. Pay in full, which means that you will not have any more expenses. You can pay the minimum, which means that you will have interests over the time, because there's still an amount of the money that you borrowed, which you haven't paid back. And finally, you have the option of not paying anything, which only means that the bank is going to block your card. And so, which are the advantages of this card, of this system? Firstly, it is that you're building credit, which will help you if you want to buy a house with a loan, because it will be easier for you to have a lower rate on the mortgage. Secondly, it's extremely practical to use a credit card when you have an emergency, because even if you don't have the money available at the moment, you can pay for it with the credit card and pay it back in a second moment. Then many credit cards also have a lot of rewards, which are often extremely interesting. And then, as already said, they don't impact immediately your money. And so in any situation, if you don't have enough balance available, pay for something that is really important, with a credit card, you can still buy it. But then let's see the disadvantages, because with that, with the credit card, as we said before, you have bills to pay at the end of each month. And if you're late, you will have a lot of interest to pay, because the rates are normally extremely high. And to that you have to add other types of fees, like the annual fees for the credit card, as well as the late fees if you don't pay in time. Then you don't have a direct control over your spending, because you're not actually using your money, you're using money that you're borrowing, to which you have easy access. And this leads to an enormous problem of debt creation. And just to better visualize it, imagine that it represents $1 trillion in the United States, which represents to more than $6,000 of debt per person. And then the last disadvantage is that it has an impact on your credit score. And so if you're not doing well with your credit card, you will never be able to have a good loan for your house or for which other important acquisition you have to make. And so now you've paid for your cappuccino and you want to go to the restaurant. And once you go to pay for it, you pay this time with the debit card. And what happens in this case is that you're not borrowing money, because you're using your own money. The money taken from the debit card is directly the one in your bank account, which means that using a debit card is like using cash, only that it is digital. And this actually has some huge advantages, because firstly, you don't have fees nor interest, because no one is borrowing their money to you. And this also means that you have no risk of debt. It has no impact on your credit history, which means that if you have any type of problem with your debit card, you will not be impacted over the long term if you want to ever buy a house. The process is extremely simple, and also you have full control of your money, over your spending, and so it is extremely easy to budget your money. But there are also some disadvantages, and firstly, if you don't have the money, you can't use it. There are no rewards, and at the same time, if you're using it correctly, you can't build your credit score. And so, summing up how this credit and debit card work, it is clear that the system is different. But how this actually impacts you? Well, the huge difference, it is actually in the way it is used. Because with the debit card, you're actually using your money. And it is natural, it is human that you will be more careful about that, about this money that you're using, because it's your own. And this means that you will be more careful with budgeting. You will only buy what you can afford and what you actually really need. And this will lead you to build a good and healthy spending habits. On the other hand, credit cards use the money of the bank, it's not yours. And this actually makes it easier spending for everyone because you're not seeing your bank account going down every time you use your card. And this easily leads to overspending. And in general, people using credit cards are much less careful about how they use their money. And this is the mental shift that makes a huge difference between these two cards. And it also is the mental shift that will lead you to one action right now, which is to subscribe to this channel so that you can learn simple strategies to improve your financial situation. And so now the big question, which card should you use? Debit or credit? Well, if you are 100%, and when I say 100%, it really is sure that you stick to your budget, you don't overspend, credit cards are better. They're more practical, they're more adaptable to many situations, and they also have a reward system that can be extremely helpful. However, they're much more dangerous. Because if you don't stick with your budgeting, if you overspend and you end up in debt, you will lose an enormous amount of money and it will be extremely difficult to get back on the right path. And the funny thing is that probably most of the people watching this video, they think that they are good with their credit card or with their money. They think they have good habits. And it might be, but you really have to be 100% sure. And if you even have a small doubt and the overall numbers, the overall statistics about the usage of credit cards show that you probably should have this doubt, you should firstly start using a debit card. Because this debit card will help you to actually get on track with your finances. It will help you to budget your money, control your spending. And this will be a great exercise to prepare yourself to use credit cards. And so you have to be sure that you stick with it, with this plan that you have. And this is also extremely important because with a debit card, as said before, you are not impacting your credit score, which means that you will not impact your future. And so once you will see that with the debit card everything works perfectly, that means that you are ready to use correctly a credit card. But if you find that you really struggle using just a debit card, it means that you might have some habits that you have to change. And so if you're not sure you're an expert at managing your own finances, you must know where to improve first, or you will end up broke. And to do that, it's as simple as clicking on this video. Thank you for watching and see you soon.